don't fall off the stage.
Yeah, all right, I'm gonna be having the mic to give around everyone to ask questions. But before we start, I think we should go from left to right and have everyone introduce themselves. So we'll start.
Oh, you mean
your left?
Your left.
My
Your
left. Left. Their left. Yeah.
All right, that doesn't work. I'm Larry Brantley.
You just have to turn it on.
I don't want to turn it on.
That's a great start.
Perfect.
Hi guys, my name is Larry Brantley. I am pretty much the oldest guy up here. Back in the 90s I did a show called Wishbone on PBS.
Yeah.
What's the story?
Thank you. Currently work on My Hero Academia, Dr. Stone, a whole lot of others.
Next. There's a lot.
Hi guys, my name is Lisette Monique Diaz. Hi. I come from working at theme parks, so like Disney World, SeaWorld San Antonio, Six Flags right now, and Universal. For anime, you can hear me in Blue Lock, in Chainsaw Man, all different things, but also mainly as the Great Jockey herself.
Yay! Drew. Hey, I'm Chris Patton. Not Drew. I'm Chris Patton. I've been doing this a long time. I was in Full Metal Alchemist and Haikyuu and what else am I? Fire Emblem, a whole bunch of other stuff. Okay.
Hi friends, I am Alyson Leigh Rosenfeld. Please feel free to call me Allie. You may know me from Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Gundam, Polly Pocket, Strawberry Shortcake, and a whole bunch of other shows.
Hey y'all, my name is Monet Lerner. And I, as well as being a voice actor, I also work for Medieval Times. I'm One Piece, Great Jockey Will Not Be Defeated, Blue Lock, and yeah, here we go.
What's up guys, my name is Phil Parsons. I'm Jordan Dash Cruz. I'm a voice actor and director over at Crunchyroll. You've heard me in Blue Lock, Trapped in a Dating Sim, One Piece, Octopath Traveler, Beyblade, and a bunch of other things. And yeah, I'm here to just have a good time and answer questions.
Okay.
Hi guys, I'm Phil Parsons. Nice to meet you. I don't know if I've been in anything you like. Anyone watch Fire Force? All right. Captain Burns from Company Number 1. That's me. Anybody watch Attack on Titan? Kenny Ackerman, the world's best uncle, in season 3. Anybody watch a show? It's pretty obscure called Dragon Ball.
Never heard of it.
Go way back to the first season, the Saiyan Saga. I was the mighty Nappa, and a lot of other stuff because I'm old and been doing it a while, just like Chris. And I think, are we younger than Larry? God, tell me we're younger than Larry.
You're younger than Larry.
Okay.
How old are you? I'm 56. Okay, yeah.
Oh, just made it.
I told you.
I can relax now.
I'm the oldest fart in the room. Come on.
And thank you guys for coming out today.
I gotta follow that.
You got to do it, man.
Hi, I'm Thomas McKee. You guys know me from One Piece, The World Tutor. I'm also a stage actor in DFW, if you guys are looking that way. I also am, I'll just say my day job, I'm a veterinary technician during the day.
Yes.
So that's my day job, because you're probably going to ask me that question, so I'm going to answer it now. Other than that, let me pass it over to Phil Parsons. Sorry.
How's it going, guys? My name's Alex Hom. I'm a voice actor. Okay.
That's why he likes to be
I didn't know there were dogs in here. Oh, shit. I voice Yoshida in Higehiro. I voice Rensuke Kunigami in Blue Lock. Also, the Beast Warden Babanuki in One Piece, and just a bunch of other stuff. Just happy to be here and answer all of your questions with these lovely folks here.
Hello, I'm Chuck Huber, Android 17, and that's right. I've been doing it for many years, 25, 30. But I'm not old like the other old guys. I'm actually very young. 23.
I believe it.
Inside, in my brain. I'm a 12-year-old actually, so.
Not the years, it's the mileage.
Caca!
Now that I'm spit on.
Yes, now I've got all that saliva there. Thank you, Chuck. Caca! How's everybody doing today?
My name is Matthew Elkins. I play Zantetsu in Blue Lock. I play Edgar from Where in Beast Tamer. I play poker in One Piece. I also dabble in the live action world. I had a character in Taylor Sheridan's show 1883. But my bread and butter is I am a knight at medieval times! So I also like to bake.
Alright. Hey guys, my name is Drew Breedlove. I am mostly known as Bachira from Blue Lock. Woo! And also I dabble in, I've done One Piece and Fire Force and stuff like that, but I've also, you can see me in a Hallmark movie, some commercials, and it's really great in it. My grandma loved it. But yeah, so that's me. So, hi!
Thank you, everybody. That's been great.
I guess we'll kick things off with some questions now.
Yeah, any Q&As?
If anybody has a question, raise your hand and I'll come to you. I'm going to float one out here real quick since everybody's complaining about being old and being in the voice acting game for way
By the way, our
too long.
MCs are from Assuming Positions Podcast.
Thank you.
You very awesome podcast you guys should go and listen to.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Tom.
You're welcome.
But for the veterans, you say you've been in it for years. What, sort of a pick your own answer, which one you want to answer? Is there one thing that's changed the most from when you started to where you are now? That's like just way better and you never thought it would be that way when you started? Or give yourself one piece of advice from when you started, 20, 30, 50, 60, I'm not judging. However long ago, what piece of advice would you give your starting out self? Be like, hey, don't do this, or always do this.
Find another line of work. No, that's not true. All right, so everybody loves a good origin story. I wish I had one. I fell into this by accident. Okay, I was doing on-camera stuff. This would have been 1991, and I was doing commercials, just doing commercials. And my agent called and said, "I'm going to send you on a voice audition." And I said, "Great, what is that?" She had to explain it to me. It was for a show. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know. I'll simply say this. When it came to Wishbone, the first audition, I did not know if I was going to have to dress in a dog suit and dance around on the stage because the most popular show was Barney. And I thought,
I got it right.
for enough money and alcohol, I guess I will do that. Turned out it was a live dog, but that's kind of what started for me. I have one piece of advice. Because you do a funny voice or a believable accent, that doesn't make you an actor. Learn acting. Do that first. That's the only advice I have for you. That and, yeah, don't drink on the job.
Good advice.
And that's the question. Thank you. Anybody? Anybody else? Or is there another question? This gentleman over here had a question.
That was really well summed up. I don't have anything.
Yeah.
Hi. So I am a theater major at the college right across the street. And so as someone who is used to doing stage acting, do y'all have any advice looking to move into voice acting?
I'll take this one.
Yeah,
Yay!
I got this one too. You go first.
So that is wonderful that you were a theater actor. That background is going to serve you so well in a voice acting career. As our lovely cohorts just said, voice acting is first and foremost acting. When I'm in the booth, I refer to it as the Muppet Opera. I am using my entire body, fully acting out things, because if you're running and you're like, huh, 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 it's going to sound a little different than if you're like really getting yourself into it. So having an understanding of, I've got to know who I'm talking to, what it is I'm trying to communicate, what they want, making choices about your character, choices over voices. Like, the things that you are bringing to it are so much more important than, well, I can do this cool voice, like, it's going to set you apart. It's going to be an asset to you. If you are a musical theater person, being able to know your entire instrument, like everything your voice can do, is going to be super helpful as well. And yeah, it's only like the biggest asset you can have. So great job.
Thank you.
I will say this, being a theater actor as well, you and I are tall. I do the same thing in the booth, but you got to tone down your arm movements a little bit because you're going to smack something. And my very first day, I knocked the mic right out of the stand, and I had an engineer stare at me for an hour, saying, and I was like, all right. So yeah, it's awesome. Just do that, but not 100%.
See, I'm so small, it's never been a problem.
Plus, you get to learn how to play subtleties. And when you're on stage projecting to the back row, subtle little facial movements don't play. If you've had both stage and on camera acting experience, then you've got a full arsenal to draw from in the booth. But the thing is, when you're in the booth and you got your headphones on, subtle little things can make a huge difference, and a good director will guide you with that. So just keep in mind, you don't have to be, using your full diaphragm every single time you're in there.
Thank you. You guys are talking about setups and stuff. You guys have such a great repertoire up there. Are you guys working together? You guys have home studios? Are you guys working out of the studios that you're working for? How's that working out?
Both for me. So I have a home studio that I'll record from. If I get an audition from like Los Angeles or something, and I can't go out there because I live in Dallas, I'll do it from there. And if I book, they have not seemed to have a problem with me recording from home. But at the same time, I'm that guy that really likes going into the studio just because it's a lot more fun. It's a good environment. You have a director there in person that can kind of talk to you. I mean, they can talk to you over Skype or, Source Connect or whatever, but for me, having someone in there and being like, all right, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's do this together. Having an engineer in the room too, because Lord knows I hate writing my own game. The amount of times I've peaked and I'm just like, we'll probably have to get that again, aren't we? So yeah, for me, both have worked out just fine. If I had a preference, I would prefer in the studio.
I gotcha. Somebody have a question over here?
What are some fun behind-the-scenes stories from when you're in the booth or
We all had an agreement. Backstage, no. Just kidding.
One time with Larry.
Do you remember that scene in The Shining when Wendy's running around the hotel and she sees the guy in the bear costume with some dude in one of the rooms and no explanation given? Just picture that and Larry in that bear costume. Yeah.
I've got one. Okay, so behind the scenes, right? Okay, so we were doing Walla, this way back in 2017 or 16.
Explain what Walla is.
Okay, Walla is called, excuse me, I'm sorry, with all the actors. It's where they take a bunch of us, stick us in a room, and we do the background sounds for everybody. We were doing for Royal Tutor, and we're in this weird scene where there's a bunch of kids talking, and they didn't have any dialogue written, nothing for us, no ideas. They said just make it up. All you have to do is act like that person does not belong here. I had just happened to watch, The Mean Girls. Okay? The Mean Girls, yes, The Mean Girls. So when my time came up, and the engineer pointed at me, and all I could think was a kid going, she doesn't even go here. And it's in there, and they kept it. You just got to turn it away up. And it's there. But I pinpointed on the mark. If you come to my booth, I will tell you what episode and the timing, so you can go find it. Because it was hilarious. Anyone else fun?
Okay, I've got kind of a fun one. So what's really fun for me is anytime I get cast in a show, I'll go in and the director seems to always want to be like, yeah, I cast you for this reason. You were perfect for this role because of this. And I remember when I did my very first show ever, it was called Natsume's Book of Friends, and it was with the director Jade. I'm good friends with her husband, and she kind of gave me the hook up and brought me into my first show. I came in and I was straight up honest with her. I said, hey, I'm kind of nervous. I've never done this before. I don't know how to do a lot of voice acting and stuff. I'm more of a camera guy. And she said, look, all you have to do is be yourself. I am a professional and I booked you because you're this character. And I was like, wow, okay, easy peasy, let's do it. And she said, you're playing Satoru, he's a real dim-witted pervert. Wow. And the rest is history.
typecasting you.
So I just wanted to bring up, since I can say this story because it involves Jordan over there. When we were recording for Higehiro, myself, Jordan, and the director Jonathan Rigg, we were working on, I think it was like the very first episode, and we had to do a spit take because in the scene he's brushing his teeth and he spits, and we couldn't get the right sound with nothing to spit out, and Jordan just stands up and he's like, "I got it," and he runs out of the room, and I'm like, what just happened? And then he comes back with a cup of water. He's like, "Take this!" He just busts into the booth. He's like, "Take this!" And I was like, okay, and we got it. I just swiggled some water and I spit it out into the cup, and it sounded perfect.
I forgot about that.
You did forget. Yeah. I just remember. I'm like, is he okay? He just like ran out of the room. What happened? I don't know what he's doing.
Inspiration, my friend.
It was beautiful, and I love you for it.
I had to gargle water in the scene too for Jockey as well, which made me think of another thing for you. But one of, not really a specific story, but if you ever do get to work with Jordan as a director, it's just one of the best times because he laughs at everything, even if it's not as funny as it actually is.
It's true.
So in this show that I'm in called Fruit of Evolution, I play a donkey that transforms into a human being, and she is because she eats the fruit of evolution and she transforms. So she eats a lot. She loves food. She's a donkey, of course. They love food. So I'm in this show. I am constantly eating. Like every single scene, I am eating. But there was one scene where I had an actual bakudan in my mouth, which is like a dumpling. And so we were trying to figure out how to make the sound of talking with the bakudan in my mouth. So I was like, oh, I'll just put my fist in there. And then we were like, no. And so we went to the snack room. We got an apple. We got a granola bar. And so I was in there, and she walked in, and I had this full-on apple in my mouth like a stuffed pig. And I was just sitting there, and she, like I turned and looked, and there she was, and I just like spit the apple out everywhere. So
are you okay?
That was fun. I'm okay.
You all right?
Yeah.
Got through.
You know what I think is really fun when I record at Crunchyroll? One thing that's really fun is on Halloween, everybody dresses up. Like everybody. And I remember I was going in to record for the show I was dressed as a Teletubby. And I stopped by Studio 10, and I walked in, and Drew's doing bocce, fully decked out in Captain Jack Sparrow gear. And like, I mean, not just like a hat and a plastic sword. I mean, like he goes all out. He does a great impression. He's got to do it for you guys right now.
So occasionally I'll do Captain Jack Sparrow and I walk around.
I guess I'll share just a quick story. This is more of like a in the booth improv moment. So I was working on Trapped in a Dating Sim, voicing Leon, and in one of the episodes, as an anime does, there was a scene where it shows like the two girls, like the two main girls of the show, for whatever reason, like sleeping in a bed, like in their bra and panties.
Anime. That's anime.
Yeah, that's anime, right? So I remember there was a line written down. I can't remember what the line was, but I was looking at it, and just in character, I go, "Leon likey," and I was like, and I start laughing, and Rigg, the director, he goes, "We're keeping that," and I'm like, no, like that was a joke. That was a joke. No, sorry, we're keeping that. So now, if you watch the show, you will hear Leon likey right in there. Fun improv moment.
Well, I have one that's not. It's really just to shows how dumb I am more than a fun behind the scenes story. But you guys know who Chris Sabat is, right? Yeah. Godfather of Dragon Ball dubbing. Okay, so he has his own studio called Okratron. We've all done work there. One time I was running late to a session, and you know, I respect Sabat in the studio a lot, all those guys. It's always very unprofessional to be late, so I felt terrible. And I don't remember all the. It was a very complicated car issue, family thing. I can't remember what it all was, but I'm rushing to get there. I'm running, and I'm there, and I'm 20 minutes late. And I think I was even trying to reach them, and I couldn't. And I'm just like, guys, I'm so sorry. And I'm going into the whole story. So I spend 3.5 minutes explaining all this drama to explain to them. I do respect their time. And Sabat's like, your session's not for tomorrow, dude. So it's very early.
Dedication. Early actors on time.
Although I did have ad-lib lines that stay in. At Okratron once, we were doing Moriarty the Patriot. Ever watch that show? And there was a scene where this bad guy is chasing somebody, bursts into a theater. It's all set in England, you know. And I'm just some dude sitting on the front of the theater with his eyes wide open. The guy's like, "Did you see this man run through here? He looks like this, right?" The guy's just barking. "I'll pay you. Tell me where he is." You know, the guy's very intense. And my guy's like, "Don't need to pay me, sir. I saw him. He went through that door." And that's the only line. And then there's a shot of the guy, yeah, and he just runs off, all angry and pissed off. And just a lingering shot. So I just was joking. I go, "You're bloody welcome!" And Raleigh kept it in. So another line that's in the dub that wasn't part of the script.
Those Easter eggs are always fun, but we got a question from the audience.
All right. Oh my goodness, Tom, thank you so much for saying no already. I have two questions actually, and first I was actually before the panel, got the opportunity to talk to Alyson, and she is so wonderful, and thank you for answering my questions. But for those of you who've been on shows like Dragon Ball or Strawberry Shortcake, Polly Pocket, shows that have been around a long time, how much do you feel like you get to own the characters you play, and how much do you feel like a responsibility to live up to what people have done previously? And then my question for everybody in the group is, you know, coming to Comic-Con is the greatest thing in the world for us as fans. Tell us a little bit about some of your favorite experiences being out here with the fans and what it's like for them to come up and show you all that love and that excitement for what you do.
Well, thank you so much. You know, like with Polly Pocket and Strawberry Shortcake, where they were like, "We want to take her in a new direction. This is for a new generation, and you know what worked, you know, 15 years ago is not necessarily where the animation world is right now." And I think that sometimes, you know, American animation is like a little different performance-wise from anime. So definitely have a respect for what came before me and a love for it. I definitely had a lot of Polly Pocket toys growing up. But also, you know, understanding that like I got this part because they liked something that I brought to the table, something that I did in my audition that was different than what other people did. And, you know, I've got a really silly sense of humor, and I love to let that shine, and I think that's something that has fortunately helped me in this industry with those characters in particular. And to your second question, you know, anytime I get to meet fans and somebody tells me that a show or a movie that I was in helped them in some part of their life or just really brought them joy in a wonderful way, I mean, that's the best part of meeting fans, is hearing that the work we do actually impacts people's lives. When we're alone in a dark booth, I think it's really easy to forget that, like, oh, somebody's going to see this and maybe like it and want to talk to us about it one day. And it's really wild and wonderful to get to have that moment come back to us.
Do you ever have fans that were fans of the original? Do you ever have fans that were fans of the original bring their kids and they're fans of now, and you get that connection with those?
Yeah, especially with Pokemon, I find, where there's people who watched it growing up and now their kids are into it, and it's really a wonderful thing that a lot of these properties have that staying power that fans span generations. It's really awesome.
I had a young lady at my table at this very con this morning, and she was crying, and I'm so nervous, and basically telling me that she lost her father because she was a young girl, so she lost her father young, and one of her memories was watching Dragon Ball with her father when she was like 7 years old, and it meant so much to her. And, you know, I mean, it's humbling to be a part of something that means so much to anybody, no matter how small a part it is. So I know what you're talking about.
Okay. The first part of your question. I was in the weird place of being able to create a character from scratch. And I really didn't know what the hell I was doing. People ask, how did you come up with the voice? And I didn't. I came up with a character. Came up with a personality, and then the voice just sort of found it. I once met Dan Castellaneta at a comedy club in Santa Monica, California, and asked him how he came up with the voice of Homer Simpson, and he told me the same thing. He said the first 2 seasons he patterned Homer on the actor Walter Matthau. And you can hear that in the performance. But then the writing was so good, and Dan finally got comfortable that he made the character his own. And then it went up and, you know, into Homer land, if we all knew that. So being able to start from scratch is really cool and kind of scary, because it's all on you if it goes south. You know, there will be no future successions or future generations because nobody liked it in the first place. As to the con question, this is my 4th con ever. I stayed out for a long time because of my twin dislikes of crowds and people. But it's been wonderful. And the first time a 30-something-year-old came up to me at my very first con and said, "You were the voice of my childhood," I took that very seriously. He brought with him a Wishbone VHS tape still in the plastic. And he had his family with him, his wife of several years and his 3 kids who didn't know what a VHS was. And I said, "I would love to sign that for you, but if you take that out of the plastic, it loses a lot of value." He didn't bat an eye, man. He looked right at me and he said, "This is never leaving my family." He called it an heirloom. He called a VHS tape an heirloom. And I thought, okay, I need to meet more people. So far I'm having a good time. Anybody else?
Well, yeah, I mean, when I meet people and because I'm a very outgoing person, and if all those who know me, it's not a surprise. But what I find really fun about coming to conventions is getting to talk to people about their love of acting, and then when they tell me they don't think they can do it, and then when I connect with them on social media, and then I get to hear, "Hey, I actually went and I'm in school now," or "Hey, I did my first community theater play," or "Hey, I actually got this little independent voiceover role." It means so much to me as a person that they were able to go out and do it, because then I feel like I've actually contributed to the world and made something better. And on the fact of Wishbone, you were my childhood man. So I get that sentiment. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes. Me and my grandmother every Sunday on PBS, Channel 4. We didn't have cable. I lived in the country. But yeah, so that's my big thing. I've got plenty of people right here in this audience I've talked to about pursuing their dream and keep going no matter what. And even if you just are in a community show and it doesn't pay anything, but you had fun, you're still doing the art and you're still pursuing it, and you keep going, and no matter what, it's going to be a part of you, and that means a lot to me coming to these when I get to hear it. So they usually thank me. I go, "No, thank you for making me feel good about doing this."
You're the best, Tom McKee.
You don't say that. That's this.
But you are the best.
Anyone else want to get happy?
I'll go ahead and tack on this. So this is only my second convention as a guest, but I've been going to conventions since I was like 12 years old, because I am a fan first and foremost. And so it's been really cool, like getting to be on this side of the stage and getting to talk to people, especially like the characters that I've played so far. I've just finished my first year in anime specifically. And so it's really cool to get, even though we don't have long-running characters, we have characters that originate in like Japan. And you already have those fans that are hardcore fans of the show and of these characters, and then getting to have them come up to you and thank you, like, "Oh my goodness, I really loved what you did with the dub," because we were kind of worried. There's always that sub versus dub kind of sort of thing. But being told from fans that they enjoyed what we did and all this good stuff, and getting to talk to people has been really cool on the other side. Like, wow, I've been aiming towards this goal. Like, I was watching Yu Yu Hakusho with my sister, and Pokemon and Pre-Tier and all these things, and now I'm sitting up here with people. Yeah, my sister is big fans as well. So we're like big fans at home, and so being able to go and like actually experience it on this side and then take it back to my siblings and cousins that we're all full weeds on the inside as well is like a really different and really cool experience too.
We're fans of you!
Thank you. Continue working towards your dreams, because it works out in the end.
You want to? I'll go. Okay, you go. No, you go. I'm going on purpose. Oh my gosh. Okay.
No, you hang up.
And so I want to say, like, I really got into acting, especially like doing theater in high school, because after plays, people would come up to me when they would, meet the cast, and they'd be like, "Oh man, I hated you so much," but like in a good way, or like, I had people that told me that I almost made them cry, or stuff like that, and I knew that, I wanted to get into this field to make people feel those emotions that maybe they don't feel, all the time. right? Or they sometimes forget that they had, you know? And so a recent con that I went to, it was wild because I actually had, for the first time I had fans coming up to me like shaking, like crying because they were just so happy. And I only have Bachida. Bachida is like my biggest character, and they were just shaking and crying. They're like, "You're such a legend!" And to me, it's like it's an imposter syndrome because you feel like you haven't earned it yet. And I know he's going to say something, so I'll just say it. I signed my first tattoo.
Andrew Breedlove, I said people's arm and they tattooed it.
Yeah. So I signed my first tattoo. I had this girl come up to me. She was like, "Hey, can you sign my arm?" I'm like, "Okay, cool." She sent me a picture on Instagram. She's like, "I got it tattooed." And then on the other one, she got Bachida. And she said what she's doing is she's doing one sleeve of autographs and one sleeve of characters, or her favorite characters and her favorite actors. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's a little weird, but it's kind of cool at the same time. And it's very interesting to have these.
Such a big deal.
Shut up. No, shut up. We've been friends for a while. I don't know if you can tell that, but it's very rewarding to see the effect that your work has on fans. It's really cool to see that.
So actually, just to kind of piggyback on that, one thing that really means a lot to me, not just for me personally, but to see something like, as much as I tease him, but to see something like that happen for Drew, is I've known Drew for a very, very long time. We've been best friends for a long time, and I've been a part of his journey and watched him grind and work and get nothing from it, and work and get nothing but rejection. So then to see him shine in that way, or to see me shine in that way, it means the world to have someone come up to you and say that, because they're, for me at least, it's confirming, hey, all that effort you put in, all that time you put in where you got nothing, because acting is 99% rejection, at least for me it is. It's like 99% rejection. And then you get that one, and it's like, oh, I have a fan. Well, it's not just about like, oh, how cool am I? But it's more about, okay, hard work paid off. Effort paid off. All you had to do is just keep pushing and keep grinding. And that means the world to me.
Drew, you want to sign? Can you sign my arm, please?
That's become the running joke now.
Yeah, Drew signs arms, so he'll sign it and then get it tattooed. So
just the arms, though. Just the arms, please.
So for me, one of the big things I actually just started doing conventions, really hitting hard conventions this year, is honestly seeing just the faces light up of fans that come up to you and just start talking like about why the show is their favorite show, or why the character that you voice is like their favorite character. I had someone at this convention just recently. They were really into Beyblade. I voiced Rashad in Beyblade vs. Quad Drive. And they were just blown away by the fact they didn't think that they would meet like a Beyblade voice actor, and just started talking about like why they love the show, and hey, like I would love to battle you with like a Beyblade or something, like just fun stuff. And it's cool to see like a lot of times like introverts or people who might be a little bit shy and like afraid to come up to you and talk because they're like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to talk about because they're this voice actor, and what if they don't think I'm like cool or something. Not that we think that, you guys are freaking awesome. But it's just cool to see them, like the passion in their voice and the passion that they have like for the shows and whatnot. Real quick story, I did a convention with Chuck, AFO, 2 weeks ago in Orlando. And it was crazy because I had someone come up to my table asking about Shadow's house. I voiced Sean and John in Shadow's house. And I knew who this person was, but they hadn't seen me in years, so they didn't recognize me. So I was like, oh yeah, man, like it's cool to see you, Cooper. And he's like, what? How do you know me? I'm like, it's me, Jordan. Like, we played Smash Bros together with like Kevin over at Steven's house, and he just, like, his face just blew up. Like, he straight up like almost passed out on the floor. He like fell and everything. And just seeing that, like, it was so cool. Not only to reconnect, but it was so cool to be able to just again see that face light up, where it's just like I love this show, and like you're the voice, like let's talk about it. So then we just started talking about Shadow's House. Which another thing I found out, like I've had to do a lot of research on shows. That way I know like what to talk about. Because I'll be like, let me make sure that I know this stuff that they're talking about. But yeah, for me, sorry, I don't mean to ramble, but like for me, that's one of the biggest things is being able to just see like fans' excitement about the shows that they watch, and just being able to be like a little part of it.
Well, especially kids, because kids are
Yes.
brutally
Yes.
honest. So, like if they think you suck, they will tell you.
Oh, yeah.
So to hear a kid comment on how much they enjoy the show, that means the world to me. Because I'm like, I know you'll tell the truth.
It's great to hear you guys talk about the passion that the audience has for you guys. Because hearing you guys talk, you guys have passion for the hard work that you were
We got
doing.
one here, one in the back. Yes. We got one here in the middle aisle and one at the back rack.
Hey, I have a question for Chuck, actually. This is a very odd one. You may not be able to answer it too. I was just curious. Do you by any chance know why the English Funimation dub of Shin-Chan ended or was canceled?
That was very sad. Very sad. Shin-Chan was one of my favorite shows to work on. It was. They let it go because to do it the way they wanted to do it, which was to reimagine most of the dialogue and a lot of the narrative and make it our own, it took some really expensive writing. The head writer for that show was out of LA, and so I think the process of rewriting it, I think it was just too expensive. And the fan base they thought it would be bigger, but it was smaller. But very loyal Shin-Chan fan base, that's for sure.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So I did a little on that show. That's why that had such an American sensibility in the
Yeah.
writing. It was unusual. That's like the old studio, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's one of the only shows I refused to say a line that was written. I just refused. I was like, that will never be recorded. Not with my voice.
Did Zach try to convince you?
For a second, and then I explained what would happen, and he was like, "Yeah, no, you're right."
Can't have that for blackmail purposes. We had another question in the audience over there. Let me come to you real quick.
Have y'all ever had to do like or offered a show that like went against like moral judgment or something like a belief that you had that you just didn't agree with?
Someone with morals needs to answer this question.
I was
morals you're talking about.
I was actually a principal of a private Catholic school while I was recording for about 8 years, and so. There are shows you don't want to do. You're like, that's a little rapey. I don't want to do that show. It's not my style. But your friends are all the directors, and so like, if you're there and you got extra time on the clock, and they're like, can I pull you in for some bits? And they're like, in that show, I don't want to do that show. And they're like, but you should do it for me because I'm your friend. And you're like, okay, but yeah. So we would do shows. I'd do shows that I was morally opposed to, but they just would list me as a different name. Because I didn't want to get fired from the Catholic school I was teaching at.
There would be some times where I would encourage a line change, like if there were things that felt kind of like fat shamey or, putting
Inadvertently racist.
Right. Like we wouldn't say that in America. I would encourage they re-examine a line, and more often than not, those moments would get rewritten.
I worked on a show with Jason Lord, Skeleton Knight in Another World. You guys watched that one? I was a couple seasons. Oh, hey, we got two peas in a pod there. And I played he was only in there for a couple episodes, but he's this evil, fat Lord guy. And he's just totally creepy. And there's a scene where it's just creep to the max, and he's got like these elf concubines in bed, and he's just being a total creep. And Jason was really cool, though, because he pulled me aside before he did it, and he's like, hey, I'm going to show you this scene, It's pretty creepy, it's pretty weird, it's pretty, yeah. If you have any problems with it, tell me now and let me know, and we can course correct from there. And I saw it and I said, no problem, I'm just gonna make him as like cartoonishly evil, so there's no chance of ever, you know, like seeing this guy in any good light whatsoever. And we did it, and he's absolutely cranked. Hey. Yeah, it's fine, it's fine. Take up the whole stage. No, please do that. I didn't see it at your booth earlier. But yes,
Did
so
I miss anything?
a good director will help you course correct and will make you aware of any sensitive topics and subject material that you might be working with, and really makes it great. So.
There's a young lady that's third row back that's been raising her hand for quite a while. Let's get to her.
To add to that real quick as well, I do think that they've gotten a little bit better at letting you know if there's like some content in there that like is questionable, and whether or not you want to audition. So it'd be like, hey, this show is rated TVMA. Like, are you comfortable with this? Are you comfortable with saying the F-bomb? Like, are you comfortable with these scenes that are happening? So they have gotten a little bit better with that. If push comes to shove, you can still say no. They're not going to hold that against you. They're not going to be like, oh, you said no, so you're fired, and we're not going to cast you anymore and everything. I would say, you know, stick to your morals. If you feel uncomfortable, say no. Say like, hey, I'm good not doing it. But hey, if you've got another show or something in the future, you know, shoot me an audition for that.
Yeah, I'll just quickly kind of lean on yours. So I just recorded for the show. I can't really say the name right now, you know, but it's set in the Civil War, and I played a general who drops the N-bomb quite a lot, and I was not very comfortable saying that, especially in my community where I live, because in my home studio I had to record, and you can hear me through the window. And my neighbors, who are all dear friends of mine, are African American. And I was like, can we not put this, like, there's one scene in particular where it was like 5 times in a row, and I threatened the soldier's life, and I'm like, but it's historically accurate. I'm like, I understand it's historically accurate, but I'm not comfortable saying that. So it took them 2 weeks, but they rewrote the entire scene and took out all of those N-bombs. And the character still sounds the same. He's still, you know what he's saying. But I had to literally hold my guns there and be like, look, I'm not going to say this 5 times in a row in the most hateful speech I've ever said through a microphone. I don't care if it's character. But they finally came back with the script and were like, well, we changed it. Still there, though.
And the next one?
I can ask 2. First one is, has there ever been like a role where you have to play down, not because of the writing, but generally because of the character's personality? Does that make sense?
Play down, you said?
Turn down, like turn down, like say no. And another is like playing off the whole lines. Has there ever been a line where you have to take a second to compose yourself before saying it because it's so hilarious?
Yes. So, I was part of a dub that some people know called Ghost Stories. And not only did that involve a line that I believe anyone who knows me will be shocked to hear this. There was a line written that I wouldn't say. I know, no, I'm serious. It was quite the doozy too. But if you don't know anything about that dub, yeah, there were several lines that I would read. The way that dub was done, the director had the translation, and then he just had his Mac right here, and he was just writing like his riff of the translation on the fly. So like my lines would just pop up on the screen in front of me before, like seconds before I was supposed to say them, and I was like, oh dear God, okay. Yeah, there were some that I couldn't say at first because I was laughing or I was in shock, and some that I just refused to say. Yes, one that I refused to say.
If you're talking about toning it down, like as in like
Turning it down.
Oh,
Down the roll.
turning it down. No, I won't turn down the roll given to me. Right now. Right now, yeah, because I haven't worked in a while. So if you give me a role,
A lot of fans also don't realize that generally with anime dubbing, it's not like we know all about these characters that we get cast in. I mean, often you don't know until you walk in the booth what you're going to be doing. So it would be an after the fact turning it down.
Or pulled in the hall.
They also currently, a lot of times now are looking for racially appropriate people, and sometimes it will list in the character description whether just based on their appearance or literally on who they are, what their ethnic background is, and sometimes it will be left to the actor's own judgment call to say, yes, I feel comfortable auditioning for this type of a role, or like, I'm going to pass on this and let someone who actually fits that audition for it. So sometimes it's not even just rejecting the role, it's saying, I'm going to not audition for this role to begin with.
So I don't know if you guys, there's a show called Golden Kamuy, and I just recorded an episode where I played a tribal woman who was helping another woman give birth. And so there were a lot of interesting things that were being said, very explicit things, and I remember just like hearing it in the Japanese and reading my script, and I did have to take a second and kind of breathe through it, because just like now, I'm just laughing thinking about it. And so, and then the beeps come and you're like, oh God, I hope this is gonna happen. But yeah, no, it's definitely like you have to breathe sometimes through it and just focus. Take a minute to focus. Oh yeah, I also Aristocrats, Otherworldly Adventure. If you
How many Europeans do we have in the audience?
So a bidet is basically okay. Anyway, watch
I'm really
Aristocrats,
gonna
Otherworldly
describe
Adventure.
this. Just Google it.
BIDET. And it rhymes with my name, Monet. Monet Bidet. So it works out great. But yeah, that was another one that was really.
All right, we got time for one last question, probably about 5 minutes.
Anybody?
Anybody?
There's a gentleman with his hand up back there.
They don't trip everyone.
Motion would not approve.
So I was wondering if, after a long day of being in the booth or recording, do you guys ever, are your voices ever stuck for a minute and you gotta think, like, what do I really sound like?
Yes. The worst, I don't know, I can't speak for any of these guys. The worst for me is whenever it's heavy on combat, and that's actually these days, it tends to be voicing video games. But there are definitely some characters in anime, and I don't forget what I sound like, but I've deliberately chosen voices that seem to not be good for me professionally, because it's always back in here, and then you have to do that at full volume for a really long time, which is why I don't do long days in the studio, ever. I'll do a couple hours max and then I'm done. I don't know what the youngsters do, but yeah, it does happen. I do occasionally get stuck in an accent. I grew up in my Irish grandparents' house until I was about 11 years old. I thought that's just how you fucking talk. And so I actually had to go to, my grandfather took me to a speech pathologist to get me to not do that, because I was getting in fights in school, because I didn't sound like anybody else. And it was after that that she actually encouraged me to do it, and then I made a career out of it. So yeah, I sometimes it's just easier for me to just be in a character voice. It's just less effort than being me. And so, that, and so I'll walk around the house, and my wife, bless her heart, would be like, well, I guess he's a Scotsman today. Well, he's got no Hody Jones. No, we're not doing that today. But very good question. Thank you. Anybody else?
I can also jump onto both questions real quick. I'll usually, especially I realize in the past year since I've been looking at anime, I've been consistently cast as a lot of really that talk a lot. And so if you're doing a lot of sessions back to back, especially if you're doing those long sessions, the easiest thing to do after all those sessions is just to not talk. And so that's usually what ended up with me after Jahi specifically, because after you get cast in something, like you said, you're kind of in it. If you want to turn down the role, you're already in it, so that's kind of hard to do. And if you're already a loud character, well, that's what your character is going to do for all 20 plus episodes. And so you just kind of have to learn how your voice is and how you react to all the sessions and how you can take care of it. At the end of the day, it's just kind of good luck.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. It's important to warm up. Even if you're not a singer, like vocal warm-ups are so important just to, and cool downs. But in the Jahi show that she's talking about, my character like hits her head on a table because she punishes herself. And so I had to like scream and and so that took like a couple hours of me having to warm up my voice to get to that place so I don't lose my voice. And so like Lisette was saying, like after session, like I would just sit in my car like completely silent, no music on, and just listen to my turn signal, you know? And I was just like so meditating anyway.
I just want to make one comment about that. So me and Monet both work at Medieval Times, and that particular scene, she, I guess, was rehearsing it at her apartment, and I remember I was dropping something off, and she'd left the door unlocked for me, and so I came in, and I just heard her going, "Oh, oh, oh!" I was like, what the hell is going on in there?
Alyson was saying earlier, like the physical thing, that because we can't hit our head on a table, but we have to make it sound like we're hitting our head on the table. So like the physical, what you have to do, it's like, you have to figure out some way.
I just got done doing a show where I played an Irishman for like hours straight, for 3.5 hours. I was an Irishman, and I found myself just keeping that dialect, even leaving the stage. They'd be like, "How you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing fine. How are you?" And I couldn't get rid of it for at least a week. So I did have to sit literally in my room, not listening to a darn thing, and going, "Okay, this is what I sound like." Instead of, "Oh, how you doing there? It's good to see you."
So I just wanted to say, like, my biggest issue when I record stuff for my voice and stuff is not when I get the direction more energy, that means louder to me. So I just do louder, and every time I shout, it goes into goes into your throat, and you do this, and that's horrible for your voice, and I can't stop it from doing that. So when I voiced Yoshida for Higehiro, he stayed very much in my natural range. But then he would shout, and when I shouted, I'd be like, "Ah!" and Jonathan's like, "No, don't do that. And we don't want him to sound like that." I'm like, "I know, but that's what my throat goes to when I shout." So it's trying to find like little things that you can navigate around those. Yeah, exactly. Or just put it in your nose, put it at the top of your mouth, whatever you have to do to avoid shredding your vocal cords beyond all belief. So.
And I'll just add real quick. Speaking about like character voices and like whether or not we get stuck in them. As someone who's been able to do like a little bit of directing, I've seen like anime kind of leaning. We still do the character voices, but leaning a little bit more towards like natural like voices, keeping it a little bit more humanistic. I guess I don't even know if that's a word. Perfect. But it's really cool. It's really cool to see when I'm directing. And people are using their natural voices, like the little nuances. So it's not necessarily that they get stuck, but it's more so like I'll hear like, oh, they've got like a slight accent. Oh, they've got like this little thing, and trying to like figure that out, and being like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but like you have like maybe a slight Texas accent, or you've got like maybe a slight Spanish accent, like to your read. And for the most part, we'll keep it, because it's like, oh, this is natural. This is how people talk. But it is cool to see like just the different aspects of people's voices, and maybe even some aspects that they themselves have never really thought of until they get in the booth and we say, oh, hey, did you notice that you have this? Let's see if we can maybe kind of tune this in a way where it's not so prominent. But then there's other characters where we're like, yeah, no, that's perfect, like keep it.
All right, Bacon. Let's give a big round of applause and thanks to our boys actors. They all have booths in the exhibition hall, so go to check them out. And stay tuned for unconventional stand-up comedy. Yes, unconventional stand-up comedy. Stay tuned.